So, what do you think happens after we die? Most people picture a place of rest, maybe a reward, but what if it's just an office? Yeah, an office. Today, we're going to dive into this really unique story that imagines the afterlife as this giant cosmic bureaucracy. It's a pretty satirical but also super thought provoking look at things like personal responsibility, faith, and what it actually means to build a life that counts.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Forget the whole pearly gates thing or just fading into nothing. What if the very next step for your soul depended on a resume, an interview? What if you actually had to apply and qualify for a job in heaven? It just sets this incredible, kind of weird and unsettling tone right from the get-go. And let me tell you, this place is not paradise. It's basically the ultimate DMV. Souls show up expecting, well, anything but this. And what do they find? They're stuck in this endless, sterile, white-on-white line. It's a place where every single one of their expectations from life on Earth is about to get completely torn apart by a, let's say, very uninterested celestial clerk.
All right, so who exactly is waiting in this cosmic line? Well, let's meet our first group of applicants. They're called the rebels. And these are the folks who were 100% sure that death was the final curtain. Lights out, the end, period. Their leader is a guy named Diesel, and his reaction pretty much says it all. He's furious. See, these souls, a lot of them died from, living life way too hard, or even from ending their own lives. They thought they were getting out of everything, escaping consequences, escaping their debts. So the fact that they're still around, it's not a relief. It feels like some kind of cosmic trap they are just desperate to get out of.
And you can just feel the disconnect here, right? It's huge. The rebels are demanding to be deleted, to just dissolve into nothingness. And the clerk? He just hands them a job application, an application that asks them to list their cosmic wisdom, divine virtues, and mystic powers. You can imagine how well that goes over. Of course, a riot breaks out, but it's completely useless. Their hands just pass right through the desks, they can't set anything on fire, they can't break a thing. In this place, even their rage has no power. Okay, so not everyone showed up expecting to just disappear. The second big group in line had the total opposite expectation. Let's meet the believers. And oh boy, they expected everything. Pretty much handed to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, their entire worldview is pretty much summed up by this one idea. For them, faith was the only thing that mattered. They were convinced that because they followed a specific sacred book and trusted in a savior, they'd already punched their free ticket straight to paradise. From their point of view, personal accomplishments, skills you build, none of that was just unnecessary. It was totally beside the point.
So the believers are standing there expecting this eternal vacation to start. And what's the clerk's reality check? Souls without an acceptable resume will not be employed. Ouch. He actually takes their sacred book, flips through it for a second, and then just dismisses it. He calls it another's life story, not theirs. He flat out tells them it's against cosmic law for an imposter to try and claim someone else's talent.
Well, that rejection just kicks off this chain of desperate, escalating arguments. First, they try to use the sacred book as their resume. Denied. Okay, plan B. They plead sincere sorrow, basically saying they're worthless sinners who need forgiveness. The clerk's response is priceless. Forgiveness doesn't qualify you for a job. Then they argue that a blood contract already paid their way. But the clerk just tells them blood has no currency here. Their last desperate demand? An instant upgrade to be made magically perfect. And the clerk? He just laughs. So eventually one of them gets smart and asks, okay, so what jobs are even available? And the list he gets is just staggering. I mean, forget playing a harp on a cloud. We're talking about jobs like mystic warriors, managers for suns and planets, specialists in false belief deprogramming. It becomes crystal clear that in this version of the afterlife, heaven isn't a retirement community. It's a massive, complex organization that needs seriously skilled souls. It's a place of incredible work and responsibility. So, after we've seen a whole line of totally unqualified people, the story finally gives us a major contrast. We're about to meet the last couple of applicants, and one of them is actually ready for the job. First, you've got this group called the Revolvers, and you gotta give them credit, they're honest. They don't want a job in heaven at all, they just want to go back to Earth and experience more physical stuff. Simple enough. But then, the light bearer shows up. And this soul is described as a great shining one, just radiating this holy fire. And it's immediately obvious to everyone that this soul is qualified for any job in heaven, no questions asked. And this is where the big twist comes in. The light bearer, the only soul who has actually earned their spot in paradise, turns down the promotion. They make a choice. They choose to go back to the mess and danger of Earth, which the story calls the soul school, just to help other people. It's such a powerful message, right? The most qualified person is the one who chooses to serve others instead of taking the reward for themselves. All right, so with all the applicants interviewed and all the arguments made, this story hits this massive turning point. The creator itself shows up to lay down the law and just clear up every bit of confusion once and for all. So the creator kicks things off with the most basic concept of all, free will. And in this universe, free will is basically a kind of spiritual investment. You get a certain amount of what's called mystic light, and every choice you make either grows that light, which builds up your heavenly credit, or it wastes it and you get penalties. The bottom line is made crystal clear. You are not some pre-programmed robot. You are responsible for your own actions. And building on that one core rule, the creator just systematically tears down every single excuse we've heard so far. That mansion in the afterlife everyone's dreaming about, not a gift. It's something you build yourself with your own thoughts and actions. You can't just borrow a savior's resume. You gotta earn your own credentials. And Earth, it's not a waiting room. It's a soul school, specifically designed to turn wanderers into warriors. Okay, and now we hit the climax. The whole waiting room thing dissolves, and all the souls are suddenly transported to this celestial financial district. It's time for the final audit, an inescapable review of their spiritual bank accounts. The final judgment comes from a celestial banker, and it is brutally simple. It has nothing to do with what you believed, how sorry you are, or who you knew. It's all about your balance sheet. Did you, through your own actions, build up enough spiritual wealth to afford to get in? Because if you're mystically impoverished, the door's closed. You just can't get in. And here's the final scene, how it all shakes out. The believers, totally broke spiritually, make a run for a bridge that has a big sign on it saying free. It collapses right under them. The rebels, who are deep in spiritual debt, get dropped through a trap door. And the revolvers, who never even opened a mystic account, they fall straight through a bridge that they can't even see. You see, despite all their different beliefs back on Earth, they all end up in the same boat. Because they didn't build any spiritual capital, they all get sent back to Earth to try again. And that's where the story leaves us. It takes this whole weird, bureaucratic story and flips it right back on us, the audience. It makes you stop and think about why we do the things we do. Are our good deeds about genuine personal growth and helping others? Or are they just items on a checklist? A resume we're building for some job in the afterlife that we might not even be qualified for? It's a really provocative thought to leave you with.